And I guess bringing in a new White Wolf at this point in the season, a bold move and a tall order for Liam.
And of course, he wanted to honor the character that had already been set up, because he knows that he's stepping into a role. But at the same time, he wanted to make sure that his performance was authentic, that it felt like him, that he wasn't playing and mimicking anything. And so
apparently The Witcher 4 is, well, you know, so bad it got cooked. It did. It got completely cooked. It's totally dead.
Siri.
Siri, are you here?
Gay!
We're looking for Siri.
Is he gay?
Siri.
Premiered way back
They
in
should have just canceled
2019. It was well. And there were more than a few outlets and fans.
I don't know why Netflix would have even continued with it, because like it's only going to damage their brand and make them look bad. Like you probably should be paying money to not have it shown.
Saying that possible, actually releasing the show. And let's just
I don't know why they released it. They should have just canceled it. That's fine. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people obviously don't like this type of content.
They're promoting it all that much because here it is, season 4 for The Witcher. Not looking good so far when it comes to the reviews. But
now I have to.
I think that's just so unfair to the guy. It is. This show was going down the shitter for years. People were hating this show for years. Are we really going to blame everything and scapegoat this guy? Well, think about it. If the show was so great, why did the first guy leave? It's so unfair.
Agree with the responsibility of that lays at the feet of one woman, the aforementioned Lauren Schmidt Hissrich, who has finally gotten everything she wanted, complete control of an epic fantasy series on Netflix without the shackles of Henry Cavill. And how did it turn out? Well, about as bad as you would expect. It's time to talk about
I can make whatever I want. I've got him on a farm milking people. I'm gonna send him to the ladies with the red bonnets on.
because everyone can have their version, everyone shouldn't. Everyone doesn't matter enough to have their version. What matters is the millions upon millions of people which have bought the games, and they deserve to be represented. Lauren doesn't. Lauren's irrelevant. I'm not sure why Lauren's the showrunner. She already scared off the best asset that the series has. Getting rid of Henry Cavill and keeping Lauren would be like losing a Wagyu steak and having it replaced with a carrot. I mean, sure, both.
8 days. That's all it took for The Witcher to go from Netflix's golden franchise to a full-blown disaster. Review scores crashed overnight, fans called it a betrayal, and memes flooded social media. But what really broke wasn't just the fandom. It was the fragile trust between Henry Cavill and the people behind the show. For years, Cavill had carried The Witcher on his shoulders, shaping Geralt into a legend. Yet when the new season dropped, everything that once made the series special seemed to vanish. The tone, the writing, the authenticity, gone. And fans started asking one big question: how did we get here? Because this wasn't a sudden collapse. This was a slow burn implosion that Cavill himself saw coming long before anyone else did.
Oh, Henry Cavill warned everybody. Henry Cavill argued with them. Henry Cavill made it very clear that he was not happy with how they portrayed his character and the entire universe within The Witcher because it went against the books and it went against the games. They were not following the lore, and he knew what fans wanted. That's why he fucking left. So we knew years ago that this was going to be a nightmare. But that nightmare is very, very close to a reality now for Netflix.
I'm the most annoying guy on set because I'm saying, excuse me, you do realize that this should be happening and they wouldn't do that, and you haven't read this, that means this would be impossible. And everyone's just going, Henry, just shut up and do the thing. And I'm like, I don't want to do the thing because he wouldn't do it this way, and he can't.
To understand how this happened, we have to go back to the beginning, to the moment when The Witcher still felt unstoppable. When Henry Cavill first announced he'd play Geralt of Rivia, even skeptics turned their heads. Here was Superman himself, but not chasing clout. Cavill was a gamer, a fan, a lore purist who read every book and spent hundreds of hours in The Witcher 3. His casting felt like destiny. From day one, he insisted on practical armor, authentic dialogue, and a Geralt who wasn't just a monster hunter, but a man torn between destiny and choice. It wasn't just acting, it was devotion. Fans saw that immediately. Every interview showed Cavill's deep respect for the source material and the fandom. He wasn't an outsider cashing in, he was one of them.
It's about the activist showrunners and the activists at Netflix doing what they want with the character, regardless of whether that's in line with what everyone else loves. We saw Lauren Schmidt Hissrich say this in the lead up. Geralt is a little funnier this season. He's a little more dry. He's also a lot more emotional. He's going through a lot of different things than we've seen in the past. That's what everybody wants. An emotional Geralt. It's exactly what everyone's looking for.
And for a while, Netflix struck gold. The first season exploded in popularity, turning Toss a Coin to Your Witcher into a cultural anthem. But beneath the cheers, small cracks began to form, creative clashes that hinted at the storm to come. What fans didn't see behind the polished interviews and Comic-Con smiles was a quiet war, one that started long before Henry Cavill's exit ever made headlines. On the surface, everything looked fine. Cavill was professional, polite, and deeply involved in the creative process. But inside the studio, whispers of disagreement began to spread. According to several reports and former production staff who spoke out after his departure, Cavill's commitment to The Witcher's lore wasn't always welcomed. Some writers allegedly mocked the books and even joked that the source material was too dense or too geeky. To Cavill, that attitude wasn't just dismissive, it was personal. He wasn't just an actor doing his job, he was a lifelong fan who'd grown up with Andrei Sapkowski's novels and spent countless hours in the games. This wasn't another paycheck, it was his dream role. And that's exactly why he fought so hard. Cavill reportedly pushed back on creative choices that diluted Geralt's complexity, moments where the character was written as cold or emotionless, instead of the nuanced anti-hero fans knew. He requested rewrites, refined dialogue, and even insisted on subtle gestures that hinted at Geralt's inner depth. The result was a performance that felt authentic, but to some in the writer's room, it also felt like interference. Behind the scenes, the creative philosophy had started to split in two. On one side, there was Cavill, the purist, fighting for the story's soul. On the other, there were executives chasing mass appeal, aiming to reshape The Witcher into something slicker, easier to digest, and more mainstream. It was the oldest battle in Hollywood, art versus algorithm. Cavill's dedication was sometimes labeled as difficult, but according to people close to the set, he was never unprofessional, just firm. He knew what the audience wanted because he was the audience. Fans later discovered clips in interviews that hinted at this divide. In one, Cavill smiles tightly when asked about creative freedom, saying, "I try to stay true to the books as much as possible." The look in his eyes said more than his words ever could. In another moment, showrunner Lauren Schmidt Hissrich claimed the team wanted to reinterpret the lore for modern audiences, a statement that didn't sit well with longtime fans. The more Cavill tried to anchor the story in its original heart, the more isolated he became. Rumors began circulating that by the end of Season 2, Cavill had grown frustrated with decisions being made above him, changes that stripped Geralt of his mystery and depth. Even his action scenes, once carefully choreographed for realism, were being over-edited and simplified. Fans didn't know it then, but Cavill was already mentally checking out. He'd poured everything into a vision that the people around him no longer shared. Still, he never lashed out. No public drama, no angry posts, just quiet professionalism and a growing sense that his time as Geralt was running out. What's most striking in hindsight is that Cavill never wanted creative control, just creative respect. He didn't want to run the show, he wanted the show to care. But when those values clashed with studio ambitions, there was only one outcome. Looking back, you can almost feel it, that slow shift from collaboration to resignation. And while Netflix prepared to move forward with a new lead, Henry Cavill was already writing his own ending, one defined not by contracts or fame, but by principle. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't a story about an actor leaving a show. It was about an artist walking away from something that no longer loved what he loved. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the announcement dropped. Henry Cavill was leaving The Witcher after Season 3. The internet lost its mind. The official reason? Scheduling conflicts. Fooled no one. fans immediately suspected deeper issues. The man who lived and breathed Geralt wouldn't just walk away from his dream role. Theories erupted. Creative disrespect, broken promises, clashes with the writer's room. Even mainstream outlets started questioning the official story. Cavill's carefully worded goodbye sounded bittersweet, more like closure than choice. And when Netflix quickly announced Liam Hemsworth as the new Geralt, the reaction was explosive. Many fans swore they wouldn't even watch. Others hoped Netflix could somehow pull off the impossible, but few realized how bad it would actually get, because when Season 4 finally arrived, it wasn't just disappointing, it was catastrophic. Replacing Cavill with Hemsworth was Netflix's biggest gamble, and it backfired instantly. The moment the new season dropped, fans noticed the change wasn't just about the actor. The entire tone had shifted. Geralt's grit was gone, replaced by awkward one-liners and uneven pacing. The story felt hollow, the cinematography flat, the heart missing. Online, reactions were brutal. One fan tweeted, "It's like watching a parody of my favorite show." Reddit threads dissected every scene. TikToks mocked the new tone, and YouTube reviews torched the season within hours. Even casual viewers felt something was off. Netflix had hoped to breathe new life into the franchise. Instead, they'd turned it into a meme. And just as fans began to mourn Cavill's exit, something much bigger started brewing: a full-scale rebellion. Within days, social media turned into a battlefield. Hashtags like #NotMyGeralt and Justice for Henry trended worldwide. Petitions demanded Cavill's return, some gaining hundreds of thousands of signatures. Fans weren't just angry, they were heartbroken. They felt Netflix had ignored everything that made The Witcher special. The franchise had gone from fan-driven passion to corporate product overnight. Even longtime reviewers said it was the most soulless season they'd ever seen. But the revolt wasn't just noise. It was organized chaos. Fans flooded comment sections, review-bombed ratings, and dug up old interviews where Cavill subtly hinted at creative disagreements. The evidence seemed undeniable. Netflix had underestimated just how much Cavill meant to this world. And then, out of nowhere, Henry himself made a quiet move that reignited the fire. Weeks after the backlash peaked, Cavill appeared in a rare interview. He never mentioned The Witcher directly, but his words cut deep. You can't claim to honor a story if you don't understand it. Fans instantly connected the dots. It was subtle, almost poetic revenge. No call-outs, no bitterness, just truth wrapped in diplomacy. Memes exploded, with fans captioning his quotes over scenes from the disastrous new season. Cavill had spoken without speaking, and it hit harder than any rant could touch. His silence became symbolic, the calm of a man who'd already won, because by this point, the Witcher brand was in freefall, while Cavill's reputation soared. He wasn't just the actor who left, he was the one who saw it coming, and his quiet dignity turned one controversy into a cultural moment. Then came the leaks. Anonymous insiders claimed internal chaos during Season 4's production, from rushed rewrites to ignored fan feedback. Reports suggested Netflix was aware of the looming backlash, but pushed forward anyway. When the negative reviews hit, the PR team scrambled. Articles popped up overnight defending the recast, calling fans toxic or resistant to change. But that strategy only poured gasoline on the fire. Viewers felt gaslit. Major outlets began publishing exposés about The Witcher's decline, highlighting how ignoring the source material doomed the show. Even casual entertainment channels joined in, turning the story into a viral case study in corporate hubris. Netflix couldn't spin it anymore. They'd lost control of the narrative. And while they fought to repair the brand, Cavill didn't need to say another word. When the dust finally settled, Netflix tried to move on, but the audience didn't. The numbers told a story executives couldn't spin. Viewership for The Witcher's newest season had fallen off a cliff. Reports claimed the show lost nearly half its audience between episodes. Online discussion shifted from frustration to mourning. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were grieving the version of The Witcher that once meant something, the kind of show built by passion, not profit. And through all of it, Henry Cavill said nothing. He didn't gloat, he didn't throw shade, he simply walked forward, with the calm confidence of someone who'd already made peace with his decision. Behind the scenes, Cavill was quietly building something new, something that felt like a rebirth. When news broke that he was teaming up with Amazon to produce and star in a Warhammer 40,000 series, fans lit up. It wasn't just another project, it was his personal dream come true. He wasn't hired by a studio to play a role, he brought the project to life himself. He'd gone from fighting for creative respect to owning it. In a way, it was poetic justice. The man who'd been ignored for loving his craft too deeply was now being trusted to lead an entire universe based on the very passion people once mocked. Across social media, the tone around Cavill transformed. He wasn't the former Witcher anymore. He was the standard. Fans began calling him the last true fan in Hollywood, a title that fit perfectly. Reddit threads praised his professionalism, even during controversy. TikToks comparing Cavill's meticulous Geralt to the new version racked up millions of views. Everywhere you looked, his legacy was being rewritten, not as the man who lost a role, but as the man who proved a point. Industry insiders started to notice too. Directors spoke publicly about how Cavill's reputation for preparation and authenticity was rare in modern entertainment. Even actors who'd worked with him described him as intensely committed, but never ego-driven. It became clear that Cavill had turned what could have been career damage into a lesson on integrity. While Netflix scrambled to save face, Cavill was already miles ahead, working on projects he loved, handpicking collaborators who respected the source material as much as he did. The irony is hard to ignore. The Witcher's world was built on the idea of destiny, that certain paths are inevitable, no matter how hard you fight them. And in a strange, poetic way, Cavill's departure followed that same logic. He wasn't meant to be trapped in a story that had lost its way. His destiny was somewhere else, building worlds where authenticity isn't a liability, but a strength. Even now, whenever clips of Cavill as Geralt resurface, fans flood the comments with the same sentiment. He was the Witcher. And they're right. You can swap out armor, change faces, and rewrite scripts, but you can't fake what Cavill brought to the role. That quiet intensity, that grounded humanity, it wasn't just acting, it was belief. Netflix may still push forward, hoping to recapture the magic, but for most fans, The Witcher ended the moment Cavill sheathed his sword for the last time. What's left now is his legacy, a reminder that even in an industry built on image, authenticity still wins in the end. Cavill didn't just survive the fallout, he transcended it. And in doing so, he left behind something no studio could ever replicate: respect. Because while others were chasing the next big thing, Henry Cavill was busy proving something far rarer, that staying true to what you love will always outlast what's trending. Today, The Witcher stands as a cautionary tale, a story of what happens when studios forget who their audience really is. Cavill's version of Geralt may be gone from Netflix, but he lives on in the hearts of millions of fans who still replay his scenes, share his quotes, and mourn what could have been. In an era of endless reboots and shallow storytelling, Cavill reminded the world that passion still matters. He didn't just play a character, he became one. And as fans look back, one line seems to echo louder than ever: you can replace an actor, but you can't replace heart. Maybe that's why, even now, rumors swirl that Cavill could return someday, or that he'll finally tell his side of the story. Whatever happens next, one thing's for sure: this saga isn't over. Not by a long shot.